Hi, podcast listeners. Please join Voice of San Diego for our next member event, the rescheduled Brews and News Member Mix-Up at 5:30 p.m. Thursday, November 9th at the Museum of Man in Balboa Park. Voice of San Diego and the Museum of Man are teaming up for an evening of civic affairs, exploring the human experience, and, of course, beer. This free event is only open to Voice of San Diego and Museum of Man members, so if you're not a member already, become one today. Events like these are just one of our member benefits. To learn more, go to voiceofsandiego.org/membership for more information.
Now loading Oregon Trail.
We're going in the river! Yeah. Case of water for my journey. $5. $5? That's about $5 worth of coffee. I could also give you some sugar. Like, I have 5 people I need to feed.
Back in 2001, most of us hadn't really figured out what the internet was. We knew we could send email to each other, and everyone had that one friend who could somehow download illegal music from a thing called Napster. But other than bad GeoCities websites and AOL chat rooms, the internet was not known for entertainment. Well, 3 kids from Santee saw the future, and they knew they had a place in it. Welcome to I Made It in San Diego, Voice of San Diego's podcast about the stories behind the region's businesses, the big and the small, and the people who made them what they are. I'm Dallas McLaughlin, and in this week's show, a story about Mega 64, a company that started as an idea for local public access TV, but wound up being one of the most popular online worldwide destinations for comedy, original videos, and a hub for the emerging underground that became nerd culture. I sat down with the 3 members from Mega 64, Rocco Botte, Derrick Acosta, and Shawn Chatfield, to talk about the group's origins and to also talk a little bit about growing up in Santee. Mega 64 from Santee, California, or do you guys say San Diego or Santee?
Well, it depends on, if we're like in Florida, we say San Diego because no one knows what Santee is.
It depends on if I want to embarrass myself and actually admit that we're from Santee.
Well, you guys all met each other in high school.
High school.
Yeah.
At what's the high school?
West Hills High School.
West Hills.
West Hills, yeah.
And how did you, this is a weird question because who knows why they met their friends in high school, but
right.
How did you guys gravitate towards each other?
We did theater together.
Yeah.
We all met in theater class.
So you're theater kids.
We are.
Oh, yeah.
We are. And, I remember the first day of school, I didn't really want to be in theater, but my counselor put me in there because I used to do plays when I was younger. And Rocco was clearly the funniest person in the class, and so I started gravitating towards him because I knew that'd be a good grade if I was with Rocco. So.
And I thought that about Shawn. I didn't think I was very funny. I saw Shawn and all his friends, and I thought those guys are funny. So I wanted, I didn't have a lot of friends in school prior to high school. I just kind of kept to myself. So yeah, it was like, I wonder if these funny guys would let me hang out with them. And so I guess we found a mutual magnetism.
Mm-hmm. And then how did were you just a part of that group, Derrick? Or?
I was younger. I am younger than these guys. And would you believe these were the popular kids in the theater class?
Derrick showed up later.
They were the most popular.
In theater class, it's kind of anyone can be the popular kid.
Shawn was a ladies' man.
I did have my theater teacher pull me aside senior year, like, look, hey, you have a lot of girls that like you right now. Don't be a jerk.
He was a ladies' man. And Rocco was really funny, and I was the new kid. So I was accepted into the group.
So what were some of the shows you guys did in high school
we did, the first thing that Rocco and I did was DM Yankees, which, when you're a kid, you think of like, oh, this was like awesome. But as an adult, you realize like, oh, that kind of sucked. But I still think that was like a real play. Like
Damn Yankees. You guys did The Crucible,
We did The Crucible.
Yeah.
We did
that one kind of sucked.
Godspell, The Music Man. Rumors, Pippin.
We were gone by the time you did Music Man.
Yeah, A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Pippin was our final
Midsummer
one.
Night's Dream.
Yeah.
Wow. So actually real shows.
We did real shows.
Usually high schools are doing like, The Odd Couple and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
We're like, studying Bob Fosse tapes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And 70s dance choir.
And it was in that theater class where the genesis for Mega 64 was created. It didn't have a name yet. It wasn't even formed, but Rocco started making videos for the theater class, and the other guys took notice. Derrick explains.
You know, it actually started with Rocco and the theater class. After every show, Rocco would do kind of a behind-the-scenes video with comedy skits.
Yeah, and
it was like, I was just going to say, they're like fake behind the scenes.
Yeah, it'd be inside jokes making fun of people, and we'd watch it at the cast party after every show wrapped, and that became the tradition of like, what was Rocco going to make next for his next video. And
you were doing this on like the tapes, right?
VHS,
Using like old VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was really how Derrick and I bonded. Like, I already knew Shawn from obviously doing theater with him, but Derrick was really into like filmmaking and made his own videos. And he made videos in school he would like mix like clips from movies sometimes with, do you remember, like, you made movies or videos where you
I made a video that would land me in jail.
Yeah,
if I made
was
it
just
today.
about to say.
In high school, I took clips of a zombie movie, and it was like a sniper shooting these zombies, and I intercut it with me and my friends. This was for a high school class, and we would say like, oh, there's that kid, there's Danny from a German class. Cut to a zombie getting blown away. I think about this now, and I'm like, I would be on every FBI watch list.
Do you
if
remember
I made that video today?
that one Halloween that you were the Unabomber at school for Halloween?
I had a weird sense of humor, and in high school for Halloween, I had dressed up.
And he would walk into a classroom
Ted
that he didn't
Kaczynski.
know and just drop a package and then leave, and like that was the Halloween day.
But you know,
it was funny at the time.
It was funny at the time.
It was funny because honestly, like, all of that, it was messed up, but it was so distant from us that it was like, okay, that's messed up, but haha, you know, it wasn't happening. None of that stuff was happening at school.
I put my hood up, and I had a dark pair of glasses, and I walked around school all day with a box with like a baby rattle inside of it.
Yeah.
Well, and there was no social media at the time, so
No.
yeah, everybody was super removed.
It wasn't a problem.
It didn't go viral. CNN didn't pick it up.
At the time, Rocco was editing everything on a VCR until Derrick taught him about the glory of editing machines, even pointing out that they were able to use the school's editing bay. Shawn jumped in on the creative and performance side, and the three started to inspire each other. They started to really enjoy working together and making these ridiculous little videos for high school. Then, high school was over. Here's Rocco.
When high school ended, it was just kind of like, oh man, like, we had this constant creative output. And then after high school, it was just kind of like, yeah, we're all doing part-time jobs. It's like, oh man, I really miss like doing stuff. Like, I don't know what to do. You know, I did some community theater thinking like, oh, okay, maybe that's it, you know, and that was fun. But it was just missing something. And, you know, we started to talk about, you know, man, we should get to filming stuff again. Like, it was really fun making videos. Maybe there's ways to get that out there, you know.
We were big fans of Tom Green at the time.
Sure. Yeah, and what year is this? What
This
year
is like
2000.
1999, 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We graduated 2002.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so around that time, it was like, yeah, we could do video stuff, but who would see it? And the internet I was definitely on the internet a lot at that time, but it wasn't really viable for video that much. So at that time, all the shows that we looked at that we were inspired by, you know, we loved Tom Green, we loved Mystery Science Theater 3000 was a you know, a favorite of ours, and you know, a lot of these shows started on public access TV, and growing up, I loved turning on the public access channel. Here, you know, we'll get San Diego specific here. Cox Cable, I think it was channel 23 was their channel that was dedicated to public access time.
We used to joke that public access had two shows on it. It was either a religious show or a guy who was like a local magician showing like really bad magic tricks. And we're like, if we get on public access, we will be the most famous guys in San Diego. There's no competition for us.
Well, to specify, it was always a religious show with puppets. They always had puppets. But anyway, so I would always watch stuff like that. And then, so anyway, yeah, it was like, you know what? I'm going to look into, I started like digging into public access stuff. There was nothing available online about, you know, information about how to do that or anything.
Back in 2002, there was almost nothing online.
Yeah,
for information.
To find anything was impossible.
And YouTube wasn't around.
No.
Pre-YouTube, pre-everything.
Was Google around really?
Google was a search engine.
It must have been like brand new, but like I'm sure it sucked.
I don't think Gmail was big at that time.
No. I had Hotmail. I know back.
I had
then.
Hotmail. Yeah.
So I just honestly, I called the cable company. I called Cox and was like, "Hey, what do I do about the public access? Like, how do we get on that?" And I went through like 10 different phone numbers and finally got a voicemail that was like, "Leave your information here. We'll send you a packet." Okay. And then I got this just very like bizarre looking photocopied packet about, okay, here's everything you need to do to be on public access. And it was like, you need to go to this seminar, and go.
Well,
yeah.
I remember I was sitting online, which is how I spent all my nights, just on AOL Instant Messenger. And Rocco messaged me and he's like, I have an idea for this show we should make, where we do video game related stuff, skits and all this. And famously amongst us, I said, yeah, this is great. We could put it online, put it on public access, get it up in 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
That was our goal. And I think it was 2 or 3 years later.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years
it
before
took
we finished
forever.
it.
But honestly, you had to go through so much red tape to get on public access. But I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I really want to do this. So I went to all these weekend seminars that you had to pass to be on public access. And it was me and like a male supermodel, a church group. It was the most bizarre room of people.
A motley crew.
Yeah. And it was just them teaching you how to like go backwards in technology. It was like, okay, yeah. Well, you have to have 6 full half-hour episodes minimum to air anything. And here's the beta decks over here that we're playing them on. So you have to get them on beta tapes somehow. We can't help you with that. Anyway, see ya. But fortunately, Shawn, can I say that about?
Yeah, you're allowed to say that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Shawn's dad actually had the equipment to do that, where you could convert to beta. He had some studio equipment.
He worked for a local community college.
Yeah, he works at San Diego Community College. He still does.
Oh.
So
It's really funny that you were scared to say something about equipment 20 years later.
Well, I know. I was just, I don't know. It was your, I don't,
No,
they
let
talk
us
about
in
your
the
family's
room.
business.
Right now, your dad's house is being surrounded by FBI.
San Diego Community College, we used your beta decks 15 years ago for 2 hours, and we're sorry.
As the guys went to work on 6 half-hour episodes, the show started to develop and form. It went from silly sketches to full-blown character stories. They started to realize that this was not going to be easy. Time dragged on, and the process was so slow that by the time they finished the episodes, they didn't even want to put them on public access. But what they had created, whether they realized it or not, was something completely original. A show where you acted out video games in public. Here's Rocco.
The concept of the show kind of developed. I told Derrick, I was like, yeah, we could do this, this kind of stuff with video games. I was thinking like, what if because I was really into video games, I always have been. So I was just thinking, something I've never seen is that these aspects of video games that are completely normal when you play a game, but if any of that happened in the real world, it would be the most awkward thing. Like, Frogger, okay, frog crossing the street, but like, why is a frog crossing the street? So let's dress up as a frog and try to cross the highway.
Yeah, what would you do if you saw that, like in real life? How would you react to that?
Assassin's Creed is a game where you walk through crowds of people, and as he does it, he gently touches everyone's shoulder, and that's normal in the game. But if you do that in public, it's like, what? Don't touch. What are you doing? Like, get away from me.
Which, by the way, doesn't sound like a successful business.
But yeah, so that was kind of that was generally the concept, was to kind of act these things out in real life and see what kind of reactions we would get. But then Derrick and Shawn, as we thought we would do these skits and then have like maybe kind of like characters hosting the skits, like host segments around it. That's what I pictured. I was like, oh, they'll have these characters kind of just hosting the show, and then they'll go to different.
It was
skits.
very Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah,
where the host segments are 2 or 3 minutes, and then the bulk of it is making fun of the movies. For us, we'd be doing these video game skits out in public.
Yeah, but Derrick and Shawn kind of developed it from the initial thing where it was kind of like, we're adding like story to these characters, and so it's like, okay, so every episode kind of has a big storyline, and then those skits are in there too. So it kind of evolved the show a little bit, and yeah, it became that. It became the story of an evil scientist who creates this evil video game console, and he kidnaps these guys to beta test it, and that would be our entry point into the skits. Is like the experiments that he does are these stupid skits out in public.
They got to work making episodes, but the guys wanted to put something out before they aired the show on public access TV to publicize it. When we come back, how that one decision would end up changing everything.
This podcast is sponsored in part by a proud supporter of Monarch Schools and Make-A-Wish San Diego. Monarch School educates students impacted by homelessness and helps them develop hope for a future with the necessary skills and experience for personal success. Make-A-Wish San Diego grants wishes to children with life-threatening medical conditions to enrich the human experience with hope, strength, and joy. To learn more about how you can get involved, please visit monarchschools.org and sandiego.wish.org.
Welcome back to I Made It in San Diego. I'm Dallas McLaughlin. Mega 64 had finally finished their 6 half-hour episodes for public access, and then they decided to put up a little trailer for their show on a personal website, just as promotion. This idea changed everything. Rocco Botte tells us more.
We made a trailer and we put it on a website, and then I don't know something.
The idea was we were going to advertise our public access show on the internet.
That was the idea.
I figured out how to, because I made a website in high school. Mm-hmm. It's like it was the dumbest website, but I would just put funny images on and stuff like that. I knew how to build a website. So I was like, I think I know how to upload a video clip. I mean, it would be a big file. It'd be like 30 megabytes. At that time, that was big. But I think we could do it, and I don't think, I think that'd be fine. Let's put a clip up to promote the public access show.
I remember, I had a website too, and we would get about 12 views a week on my website, and I was stoked. I would tell my friends, like, yo, we got 12 views this week.
So Rocco put the trailer on that website, and then he's like, you'll never guess what happened. We got 20,000 views on our website, which was, at the time, I couldn't even fathom how that was possible.
I remember he's like, guess how many views
he said to me too, yeah.
Well, it's got to be at least 12.
Yeah. So
it got linked to on message boards. At the time, there's a site that's still up, but the Game Facts, which a lot of people go to for video game like tips and stuff. Mm-hmm. I think they had like off-topic boards and stuff like that. And yeah, the video got posted on there, and people were like, "Whoa, have you seen this show? This is on public access in San Diego." But at that time, it wasn't. It hadn't been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But we put that clip out there, and it was like, well, maybe we'll put up another clip, like a full sketch or something. And we put out a video based on the game Shenmue, and then we did another one based on Metal Gear Solid, and those got I think the Metal Gear Solid one got 2 million downloads or something like that.
And this is back in 2003.
2003, yeah.
So that was crazy. But what was unfortunate is we were hosting the video on our own web hosting, which bills you for how much data people download. Uh-huh. So that, these video clips got downloaded 2 million times. And so I get the bill at a time when I'm working at Blockbuster and I'm making, $6 an hour. And, I barely have a penny in my pocket. And they're like, you owe us $1,200. And I'm like, that might as well have been $1 million at that time.
Yeah.
And so we were like, what do we do? But the videos kept blowing up that we had, there was a really popular site. At that time, one of the most popular sites on the internet was somethingawful.com. And the head dude from that site was like, hey, love your stuff. I'll host your website. It's like, okay, thank you. And he's like, I'll host your website, but I want to distribute independent DVDs and stuff. I want to distribute independent films.
He wanted to start his own production company, basically, distribution company.
And so he said, I'll host your stuff, but how about in exchange, let's put out a DVD of your stuff. And we were like, oh, perfect. We've made 6 half-hour episodes.
Right.
And so he's like, oh, that sounds great. Let's put out a season 1 set. Okay. And so that was a huge deal at the time. But yeah, he basically told us, he's like, you're not still going to put these on public access, are you? And I'm like, well, no, that was the plan. And he's like, you and your immediate family will see that. And then someone will leak these full episodes online. Why don't just keep putting out little segments and then give them the full season on a DVD. Like, hey, you like these, you get a taste of it, buy the whole thing. And it's like, hey, that's a good strategy. Okay. And so that's what we did.
So we never made it.
So you never made it.
We never made it to access. We got a
Never.
DVD deal instead.
But
We worked so hard.
Regrets. With small town dreams now in their rear view mirror, Mega 64 started putting videos online and things took off. They printed 1,000 DVDs, and those DVDs sold out quickly. Then another batch, and another. The money wasn't great, but it paid back the group for anything they were spending, and to them, that was success. However, the one thing they were getting that at that time no one knew how to quantify or really monetize was views. Every video they put up would get thousands to hundreds of thousands of views. They had an idea, and the kids liked it.
The only reason why we blew up the way we did was because I don't think anyone else was making video game videos. Like, no one else was doing that. That was before that was a thing.
Yeah, there were some in kind of limited ways. Like, people would make kind of funny, honestly, a lot of the content online at that point were flash animations.
Right.
But there were little gaming things, but not live action in the way that ours was.
And as we mentioned, like, nerd culture didn't exist really. Like, it was there. It was just under the surface. So if you ever mentioned Mario, it's like, whoa, this guy's crazy.
What I remember, it's like Halloween time now. If you go to the Halloween store, they have Mario and Luigi costumes all over the place. They didn't have those back then.
Yeah, even that was rare.
We had to make our own, you know, get the red shirt, get the overalls, get a hat off of eBay.
And you guys are talking about the video you did where you dressed up as Mario and Luigi and ran around
the
city.
Yeah. Yes, that's what we did.
Which back then, you know, it's funny. It's really indicative of a different time too, because that was all we did in that skit, is dress as Mario and Luigi and run around town, and that was it. But you'd get people going, "What? Why are they doing that? What is this? Mario and Luigi? I've never seen anybody dress like that. What is this?" And how times have changed, because now everyone has a camera in their pocket.
Yeah.
So no matter what you can't just film a video where it's just, I'm dressed weird. You can't do that because people are like, okay, what stupid YouTube video is this? But back then, it was like, why would they be doing this?
Especially now that Comic-Con's here and blowing up the way it has. Like, you know, you see people dressed like video game characters all the time now in San Diego. It's nothing new.
But I do think we kind of lent ourselves to that kind of culture.
The next step for a few kids from San Diego hoping to make a name for themselves online was Comic-Con. However, this was back in 2004, and Comic-Con was still growing.
So at the time, the guy who made our DVDs was like, hey, do you want a booth at Comic-Con? And we're like, okay, I'll buy it for you. So he got us the booth.
The deal was we had to share it with him.
Right.
And he was going to promote Mega 64 and his own thing, which was a movie that he had made about a haunted house, which was not a good movie.
Purposely, I think. But yeah. But it didn't really, so 2000, that was in 2004, and it was super easy to get a booth. All you had to do was just send the check to Comic-Con. Okay, you got a booth. And so we did that, but we didn't really have any merchandise ready, that we were still not ready for that. So we didn't have any merchandise, and he didn't have anything ready either. So we basically stood at the booth and we're just like, we showed our videos on a TV.
I want to describe the booth. A friend of ours had made Mega 64 shirts as a gift. She made one for the three of us. So we had 3 Mega 64 shirts in existence. We took one of them and put it on a hanger and hung it on our booth with a sign that said "Not for sale," because it was our own shirt.
Yeah.
And we thought it'd be funny. Like, people will come up and try to buy our stuff, but we won't have any for sale. Because that was our sense of humor.
How edgy.
Edgy. So we had no posters, no shirts, no DVDs. We still made about $1,200 at that Comic-Con.
How'd you make money?
We would go to other booths, take their posters, and with Sharpie cross their name out and write Mega 64 on it. And we would say, $1 for this official Mega 64 poster.
That's amazing.
I think at one point I autographed a quarter. Yeah. I wrote Mega 64 on a quarter and I sold it to a guy for $1.
Pretty sure that's legal.
And were people coming up to you knowing who you were at Comic-Con?
A couple. I mean, it wasn't like the biggest turnout ever, obviously. But
most people were seeing the video there as they were walking by and catch their attention.
And they thought we were funny and they'd do $1 our way or donate $1.
But that was right after we put out our Tetris video, and that was actually like one of our... That got like 4 million downloads.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because the way I found out about Mega 64 myself was that somebody showed me that Tetris video. And I was like, holy Lord, this is genius. They're wearing Tetris pieces and fitting themselves into things around town.
Which, again, now that's a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
And I feel like we were the ones that started that.
There's no doubt in my mind you were the ones that started that.
Thank you.
Mega 64 was on their way to internet stardom, although no one really knew what that was. The first Comic-Con had gone great, so they couldn't wait for next year. But in just one short year, Comic-Con went from big to huge, and they missed the chance to get their own booth the following year. But when you're a kid, parents tend to help.
My dad, unbeknownst to me, my dad called Comic-Con.
Oh my
called
God.
the Comic-Con office and was like, just so you know, I just wanted to tell you, my son has gone to Comic-Con since he was a kid and his heart is broken. And I know you guys are trying your best, but it would mean the world to him if he could have a booth there again. Like my dad totally did this on his own.
That's amazing.
And to their credit, and it's the same staff that worked there then that is there now, they called back and were like, I think we found a spot.
That's
for you.
amazing.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, we were like, okay, we need to like lock this down and make sure, we pay early,
And now Comic-Con is what it is. To get a booth, the waiting list is at least 10 years before you can even like consider getting a booth.
That's what I was going to say is that was that was the year that it officially was like, okay, you're grandfathered in. That's it.
Yeah.
The door's locked. And so luckily, we made it
So
in,
between the two Comic-Cons, your first Comic-Con with no merchandise, and then the next Comic-Con where your dad called in a favor. What was happening with Mega 64? Where were you guys? Were you still doing your part-time jobs? I mean, was
we
this-
were still in
this-
college. We were still doing our jobs.
Yeah.
We kind of started Mega 64 in 2003, and it was a part-time thing for about 3 years. So.
But was the idea, hey, we could actually do this for a living, or were you still thinking this is just a
I remember
dream?
saying like, Rocco, if we ever make $10, then it's all worth it. Like it just seemed like that wasn't even possible.
We were still just theater kids who loved attention. So the fact that anybody was watching our stuff, that was all the payment in the world for us.
Yeah,
sure.
And I think it was Ubisoft contacted us. They saw our Metal Gear Solid video, and they had a similar game called Splinter Cell, all about espionage. And they're like, we love that video. We want you to do that for us to promote our new game, and we'll give you $100 to do it. And we were so happy. Yeah. We were in college. It was like, that's 33 for you and 33 for you.
Yeah.
Ubisoft, a world-famous company that developed video games like Assassin's Creed and Just Dance, would pay Mega 64 between $100 and $300 per video. And this kept the website afloat, helping to pay bills, but more importantly, keep Mega 64 in front of the very market they wanted to break through in.
I remember we were running the whole business, the whole thing. It wasn't even a business at that point. We were doing it out of Rocco's bedroom. We were making videos and editing everything right next to where he slept and with all his video games. And I remember thinking like, we need to get like a clubhouse. We need a place, like a headquarters to do this. And we ended up finding a warehouse out in El Cajon, and we kind of set up shop there and started doing stuff there and putting out more videos. And they got more popular, and then eventually it was IGN, was this like online video game magazine.
Well, let me stop you real quick. I mean, you just got a warehouse. Were you just paying for it yourself? Or
Well,
were you making enough money?
after IGN reached out to us. So we always talked about wanting some kind of studio space or warehouse, whatever. In early 2007, IGN reached out to us about someone we knew from the Something Awful days. We had kind of, they published our first DVD and did another one after that. But then we kind of we were selling enough DVDs and stuff to kind of like, okay, I think we can distribute them ourselves. And so we did that. But someone who left Something Awful and went over to IGN was like, hey, I can put in a good word for you here. They're always looking for people to make content for the website and stuff like that. So it was like, sure. And around that time, in early 2007, we were asked to do videos for the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco, which was just all the game developers get into a big room and they have awards. And they were like, can you make some funny videos to play between the awards? And we said, sure. But I noticed that they had they were going to give the Lifetime Achievement Award to Shigeru Miyamoto, who was the creator of Mario. Mm-hmm. And so I just on a whim, I emailed them and I was like, hey, is there any way we could get 5 minutes with him to do a video? And they were like, yeah, right. No one can, he doesn't have time for you, whatever. But we'll ask Nintendo. Okay. And then they asked Nintendo and it was like, hey, he actually does have 5 minutes. Can it just be 5 minutes? It was like, yeah, we'll keep it to 5 minutes. Okay. So we had him do a cameo in a video and that totally blew up. Mm-hmm. And,
yeah, that day that we went on YouTube, that was an number one video on YouTube.
And that was when YouTube, finally we were on YouTube and uploading.
That just started.
Let's take a step back here because IGN, What?
So sorry.
Yeah, you should be.
I'm sorry.
So IGN reached out to you, but were you already putting stuff on YouTube before IGN? And I mean, like to you guys, to anybody, YouTube was very infant.
Yeah.
There was just a few things being thrown out there. No one knew what it was.
We were doing it for about 2 years. I think YouTube started in 2005.
Yeah.
And it was a huge relief to us because we didn't have to pay bandwidth or, it was a whole site dedicated to videos, which was perfect for what we were doing. And so we started uploading stuff to that, and Ubisoft contacted us. Those videos were real well received. Our DVD had come out at this point, and we were making more public skits to promote the DVD and sell it through the Something Awful website. Rocco talks about Game Developers Conference, but we actually made a video where we made fun of a man named Tommy Tallarico. He was a host/composer, a host on G4 TV, and he saw the video we made where we made fun of him, and to his credit, he has a great sense of humor. He reached out to us. He's like, hey, I think you guys are funny. And he kind of put us in contact with Game Developers Conference. And so that's where we were at that point. When we met Shigeru Miyamoto, we started doing the videos for Game Developers Conference. We had already been on YouTube for a little while.
And were your YouTube numbers good? I mean, was it?
At the time, I mean, no one really knew what it could be. No one had over 1 million subscribers. No one really had.
They were good at the time.
It was great at the time.
Sure, yeah.
I think we had like 10,000 subscribers. It was like, oh, cool. That's amazing.
Everything else on YouTube was people filming their babies. Or, like, oh, I filmed my sister.
Off a ladder.
Yeah, I filmed my sister falling off a ladder. Yeah. And we were kind of one of the few groups actually making content for YouTube that was original and scripted.
But not in a partnership form. This was just your guys' plan. Like
Correct.
Your independent plan was like, we're going to make it specifically to put it out here.
We were promoting our DVD.
So you were kind of ahead of the curve on that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, there might have been a couple other groups doing have a similar plan, but not many.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I'm giving you credit here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So you hit the nail right on the head.
But YouTube honestly just felt like a place to. At first, it was just like, okay, here's just a place that can host our videos, so our site doesn't crash.
And
it wasn't like we weren't like investing a lot in it.
Sure. And we still had part-time jobs.
Yeah.
Because all the money we made just sustained what we were doing. So it printed the DVDs. If we had a warehouse at the time, it was paying the rent for the warehouse, but we still couldn't, we had to still work on the side.
Were you guys making T-shirts and selling those?
A little bit.
We had like 2 designs, I think.
A little bit.
Nothing crazy.
But when we put a Resident Evil 4 video on, we did a parody of that game and put that up in 2006, and then that got like, oh my gosh, that got 1 million views. It was like on the front page of YouTube or something like that, and it was just like, oh my gosh, okay. This is crazy. I guess we have a real YouTube channel now. Everyone was like, when's your next video? When's your next video? It's like, oh, I guess we're using YouTube. So we did that video with Miyamoto, who was the creator of Mario and Zelda and all that stuff. And so that actually got, for a minute, was the #1 video on YouTube. Like, so that wasn't even just a lot of hits. It was like actually back when YouTube doesn't really do that anymore, but they would rank the videos. For a minute, it was at #1. And so that just blew up. And so, IGN, this media company, was like, okay, you've got something here. So let's work out a deal. Like maybe you do like 2 exclusive pieces for us every month and we'll pay you like a regular thing. And so that was when it was like, okay, if they're going to pay us regularly, maybe this needs to be full. Maybe we could do
back then. IGN, they're an online video game news magazine. They had this thing called the IGN Insider Program where people would subscribe and get exclusive content. So they wanted us to make exclusive content for the stuff behind that paywall. So every 2 weeks we had to send a video to IGN, and that's when we were like, okay, we might be able to quit our jobs and work for IGN.
So then that was when we actually were able to afford a studio. We used some of that, the funding we got from that. And
you guys quit your jobs.
We quit our jobs.
Yeah.
And that was 2007.
2007. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at this point, were you exclusively now just working for IGN, or were you still doing your own things on the side?
We were still doing some stuff of our own. Like we did our first convention up in Seattle, and that was in 2007 as well. And that was our first time leaving like San Diego, really, to like try to sell our stuff out there.
And we were working on the second season of our
third.
At that point, because
2006
we kept going after the first one, and we released the second one in 2006. And then so we traveled to Seattle. I think that to me was craziest when we got to Seattle and people knew who we were there. It's like, oh, this is just San Diego. It's like, oh, Seattle knows who we are. That's kind of cool.
The other thing that you guys were, I think, ahead of the game on was podcasting.
Yeah.
You've been doing your podcast since...
Is it
2006?
2006.
So honestly, one of the first podcasts.
Which again, that podcast started in Rocco's bedroom. We would all sit on a futon around one camera and just talk into the microphone.
Pass the microphone. And it's funny because as time has changed, like you used to tell people, I'm doing a podcast. Like, what's that? It's like, well, it's this radio show. You try to explain it. And now, like, everyone knows what a podcast is.
Yeah.
But it's really funny. For a time, I have a screen cap of like on iTunes, like #1 comedy podcast. And like our podcast is there on that list.
That's amazing.
Because there was 4 of them and we happened to be one of the 4.
And we were the best of the 4.
You and Ricky Gervais. That was
That's
all
right.
that
Yeah.
So, so you guys are doing the podcast and it's still going. You still do it every week.
We do.
Which is incredible.
We just did episode, what number?
457.
That's incredible.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of hours of us talking.
Although Mega 64's numbers in terms of podcast listeners, subscribers, and views were growing more and more, they just didn't seem to notice or even think about it that much. Because you also come from an era where numbers weren't important. You know what I mean? Like now everybody, that's all they care about is numbers.
We talk about IGN and we talk about all the positive things that worked out, but there were so many meetings we had with companies where, they'd ask us, so what are your numbers and what do you do? It's like, well, we don't really know that stuff. And then be like, okay, we have a deal we want to propose to you. And they'd basically like propose a contract where they own Mega 64, and it's like, we're thinking about taking the property and maybe firing you. And it's like, well, there's a lot of deals that we had to navigate that didn't work out.
You're like, I don't like that idea.
Yeah. It's terrible.
So what time, when did it happen that you had this partnership with YouTube? Because YouTube at some point started to offer partnerships with group. And
back then you needed 3,000 subscribers to be eligible for the partnership program. And then I think it was like a nickel per view back then. They had a weird.
It's not any.
It's different now than it was back then.
Yeah, they had to invite you back in the day. Like now, you can kind of like just fill stuff out and then meet a certain quota. But they had to actually like invite you.
But you needed 3,000 subscribers to be eligible.
I think something like that. Yeah, and in 2008, they finally. It was weird because for a couple of years we knew tons of people getting partnered. And it was like, okay, what about us? Like we were kind of doing stuff before a lot of these people. So what about us? You know, we don't get no respect at all. But then 2008, we did some video. Maybe it was our Assassin's Creed one, honestly.
Downloading Assassin's Creed.
But we did something and they were like, hey, you should be a partner. Okay. And they, and then that was when, okay, we're actually making money on the ads on YouTube.
Everything was trending up for Mega 64. They were ahead of the pack when it came to YouTube, podcast, and branded content, but then executives wiggled their way in and threw them a curveball.
And for about half of that, as Derrick was saying, we were like part of the premium subscription content kind of on their site. But they liked our videos enough that after a while, they were like, hey, you know what? We're going to move you on to another team. We're going to put you on the front page of IGN. Like, you're not going to be behind a subscription wall anymore. We like your content enough. We're just going to put it on the front page. And it was like, oh, that's awesome. That's really, really great. Great exposure.
Right.
Great everything. But what happened was they turned us over to kind of like their main team. And they were really unfamiliar with what we did. So it was like, why did you do this? Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know. Like before it was kind of like, yeah, film anything and we'll put it up. But once we were on the front page, it became very delicate, like walking on eggshells. Like, you know, yeah, you've got this video where you're just eating burgers and talking. Yeah, our viewers don't want to watch you eat burgers. Oh, okay.
After a while, we started thinking like, you know, I don't know if we're going to be around on IGN for very much longer.
Yeah, it was just nobody that we talked to, I don't think is there anymore, but they were they were used to their own stuff. So it was just like they were rejecting stuff we made all the time. Mm-hmm. So it was like after, it was around 2010. We were like, okay.
We were still doing videos for Ubisoft too on the side.
Yeah, they were still doing commission stuff for them and just our own stuff for fun. But we moved on from there. But at that time we left them. There was a site owned by Viacom, all the MTV networks and stuff, called GameTrailers.com. And they were like, we'll run your videos. That would be great. So we basically entered into a similar deal with them. We just kind of moved over there and they were like, yeah, we'll show your videos here, but also we'll run them on TV because we have, we own MTV, Spike TV, all these networks. So it was like, yeah, we'll air them and stuff. Okay. So that's what we ended up doing is we moved over there and yeah, we were having new skits debut on cable and stuff. That was really cool, actually. Yeah.
It's like on Spike and
Yeah.
G4 and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was like after this episode of Mansers, you're gonna get a brand new video from us. You know,
at like 1, 2 in the morning.
Well, I think our biggest
prime time
for me, the biggest thing was it was 2 seconds, but our video of ours made it onto TRL back when that was still a show.
Yeah,
which is a show now, but we made it to TRL, which this is the coolest thing in the whole entire world.
The offers kept flowing in, and the work was steady. Then in 2013, Mega 64 finally had their own panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and it sold out. They started doing panels across the country at conventions in Boston, Seattle, New York, and Florida, all of them selling out. The guys started getting older, and questions started being asked, like, can we really just do this forever? You guys have been able to sustain this career path on your own, and I know, Shawn, you have a family, and Derrick has a family, and Rocco is just lovely.
A lot of toys.
A lot of toys.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys have real people you need to help support in your lives, and you've been able to do it using this silly thing about making videos. I mean, was there a point during this climb where you guys were like, oh, this is going to end now. Mega 64 is going to be over.
Well, I think we always, just because of everything we've talked about here and kind of the way we climbed through all that, we were always kind of relying on big companies to kind of carry us a little bit, because that's just that fell into our laps. It's like, oh, okay, Ubisoft wants this, and now IGN, and now game trailers and all. So we kind of, whatever big company will let us do something, that will fund us. Okay. And so we kind of relied on that, and that started to go away a little bit. Game Trailers is not around anymore. And, all these kind of premium sites and things that worked with us started to kind of go away just because the nature of the industry. They just were moving on because, YouTube was getting bigger. It's like, why do you need a special site to go to? Just go to YouTube, So all these other, it was kind of like, oh, yeah, what do we do? And it's funny because we had all along such great fans. Like we had really diehard fans. But we realized as those things started to go away, it's like, okay, we're putting out more merchandise. Man, our merchandise is doing really well. Like we never really put out that much before, but other than like our DVD, maybe a shirt now and then. But as we started to make more merchandise and like we would really put care into the designs and stuff, it's like, man, our fans really are diehard. Like they're buying a lot of these designs. They're really like engaging with like, oh yeah, I really like this artwork. I really like this artist. And it's like, oh yeah, wow. Like maybe, in all honesty, like our fans can support us. Like they're diehard enough that, they're willing to, they want to support us. They don't want to see us they don't want to see us go away.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, they were kind of here all along. Like, it's like,
but yeah, we started this when I was 18. These guys were like 19 and 20 and we really didn't have any business experience. We didn't know what we were doing. So there was a long time when I was just personally worried, like, what are we doing? How long is this going to last for?
Yeah.
We thought maybe this would turn into a real TV show or a movie deal, and it kind of never did. But then I was talking to my mom after like the big recession of the 2000s, and she kind of pointed out like, so many businesses have gone out of business. They're not around anymore, and you guys still are. That's really amazing. And that's when it kind of clicked for me, like, yeah, we don't really know what we're doing, but we're still in business. Like maybe we do have something special here.
We've even called Cockroaches of the internet because we're never like the biggest thing, but we're always around and we're not really going away, and you can't kill us.
Survive any implosion.
Yeah, exactly. We've been around so many businesses and YouTube groups that have collapsed and just are gone now, and we're still going.
Over the last 15 years, they've seemingly done the impossible, turning their high school shenanigans into a steady income that comfortably supports them and their families. The guys just recently entered into the realm of Patreon, a subscription-based member service to help fund more ambitious projects like films and shows that are a little different than what Mega 64 has done in the past. And in a very short amount of time, they have over 1,700 Patreon patrons. With all this success, there was still one more thing I had to ask them about. So now, after years and years of just being successful with hundreds of thousands of fans across the world, still in Santee.
We're still there.
Still in Santee.
We're still there.
Yeah.
And I mean, is that just because you love San Diego? What's the reason of moving?
Yeah, we've been told and offered to move to LA so many times, but and honestly, like,
well, let's be honest. We're from San Diego. We resent LA.
yeah, we all know
We
that.
don't like it. When we were younger, honestly, moving to LA probably would have been a better business move for us, but we just hated LA. We love San Diego so much.
But honestly, we go to LA all the time, whenever we need to. You know, there's stuff you have to. You know, I feel like if you're really going to be serious about doing stuff in entertainment, you need to have access to LA. You know what I mean? Kind of. You know, or New York or whatever. But we do, like, at any given moment, we'll go to LA, and that's fine. But I'm very happy to get out. You know, it's like I'm very, because honestly, making stuff in San Diego, it's a totally different atmosphere because in LA, everyone's looking at you like, what is this? What are you making? Why are you making that? Do you have a permit for that? What do you do? You know, but you come to San Diego and it's like, ooh, what's this?
Mega 64 continues to grow with the internet and have even become so big that they have their own day at Disneyland. What started as telling fans they'd all be at Disneyland on a certain day, Game Days has now grown from 50 kids hanging out to over 500 people from all over the globe joining Mega 64 for a 2-day mini convention. And Disneyland is in on it as well, giving Mega 64 convention goers discount tickets, their own showing of Captain EO, and even their own private ride on the Mark Twain riverboat. And Mega 64 continues to put out content at an extremely high volume. You can catch their podcast every Sunday night, which streams live, or check it out on iTunes and YouTube. And of course, you can find them at mega64.com or on YouTube. Just type in Mega 64. I suggest starting with that Tetris video. Thanks for listening to I Made It in San Diego. I wrote the show, Kinsey Moreland and Scott Lewis produced it, and Adam Greenfield mastered and mixed it. Visit voiceofsandiego.org/podcast to learn more about our weekly Voice of San Diego political affairs show, our Good Schools for All education podcast, the Kept Faith sports podcast, Beer Talk Radio, and all the shows in the Voice of San Diego podcast network. If you like the show, go to voiceofsandiego.org and click the donate button. Or if you'd like to sponsor it, contact Kinsey at KINSEE@VOSD.org.